Well, hello, everybody. I'm out here sitting on the porch about 10 o'clock at night. It's nice to have a front porch and to be able to come out and enjoy it, be it at night or during the day. It overlooks my goats and so forth. Um, Today, I've been thinking a lot about, the education system and what's benefited me most in life. And I went to college, went to graduate school, got a master's degree. But I found that in each of those programs, and they were traditional programs, it wasn't online. I actually went in person, moved there, um, completed the requirements. I didn't go online and, for lack of a better term, pay my dues and do a few online assignments and uh, get my diploma. No, I went traditionally. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. Now, yes, I've taken some online classes in my time, and those are vastly different, I'm telling you, than going through even a master's program with a cohort and actually being in class and having to show up, do projects, and uh, do the scientist practitioner. You're actually basically like working in the job as you do it. And that's way different than an online master's program. And so I'm sure I'll catch some hate for that at some point, but it's just the truth, and I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. But um, anyway, my point is just that a master's program is, and a bachelor's program, even an associate's degree, I found that they're declining in value. And I find that even my own, which are my bachelor's degree will be 10 years old in December. Um, which means in 10 years that I've had it, here's my review. Um, it is not really that useful. Now, I use it in critical thinking. I do use it. I do have a job that requires a master's degree, and that I use for that. But that job is teaching others, and so it doesn't actually physically require that degree to produce something. It uses it to teach others that degree program. So keep that in mind. So when I say I do use my degree, I use it, but I use it to teach others. So the usefulness of it is not necessarily there. Um, Now, do I use it in my personal life and for enlightenment and all that? Absolutely, absolutely. And do I use it for all my critical thinking and the things that I've learned when I was in college? Sure. I was a terrible writer before college. But that said, um, I do a lot of real estate stuff that makes me a lot of money. I do a lot of stuff that has to do with um, interacting with individuals, going to auctions, fixing up places, doing a lot of manual labor as far as remodeling property. And I can make $1,000 in a day doing manual labor stuff. I can't do that with my degree. So when I went to college in 2000 and from 2011 to 2014, I graduated a year earlier, well, a semester early. And while I was there, I bought a house when I was 18. I bought it for $20,000 because it was going to cost me $40,000 to live in the student housing. So I bought a house that needed fixed up. I rented out two rooms. It was a 2-bedroom house. I lived in the living room and rented out the 2 bedrooms. And had that house paid off by the time I was 21. Bought it when I was 18. It was paid off before I graduated. And It was a little cheap house, needed a bunch of work. Did all the work to it myself. Didn't have an idea how to do it. Learned on YouTube. Um, my dad was not the fix it yourself type. Um, but now there were some men in my family who were, and some men who I knew who were, who helped me along the way um, in learning some of those things, but not a whole lot. I had a shop teacher in middle school. It was amazing. Taught me some stuff. And he's dead now. You know, a lot of these people that I'm talking about are dead now. But I used that to fix up that house, and then I sold that house. Oh, I don't know, 10 years after I bought it. So not that long ago. And I put about 10,000 in materials in it. I rented it out the whole time. Didn't have to pay anything for myself, not really. And I sold it for $30,000, which is what I had in it. And I could have sold it for more. I sold it within like 3 days of posting it to Facebook Marketplace. I didn't go through anything. I just posted on Facebook Marketplace, sold it. And so I made rent on it the whole time. Didn't have living expenses on it. And for the 4 years I was there, and sold it for what I had in it at the end of it. So I did a really good deal on that. And it was a house in a rundown area, rundown neighborhood, but it did me well. And so I learned more from that house that I used to avoid paying the housing bill during college than I have learned in college. And it's been more beneficial as far as making money than the degree I earned in college. When I came out of college, and then I went to graduate school for 2 years. And as soon as I got out of graduate school, I became a correctional officer. And there were people without high school diplomas. They were just GEDs. They were supervising me and doing different things. And nothing against any of those guys. They were great guys. Most of them. But you know, I made just as much there as I would have when I got promoted to counselor, and I made like $1,000 more a year or something after all was said and done than I would have been making. They said it was a 10% raise, but then they gave you another 10% raise for being an officer later on down the line. And then I ended up getting another job later on as a therapist, making the same amount that an officer would have. And then I got a job now that I got a okay raise when I got it. And but then they raised correctional officer salaries again to meet about what I make in that one full-time employment, obviously. So I'm making, you know, maybe $5,000 more than a correctional officer would be making. But I went to school for 7 years. But I do that, you know, in my job. But in all the money that I make that's not in my job is, and that's where I make my money. And there's no degree required. I don't think my job currently has the degree required for anything. Not really. And if it does, it doesn't need to be. You know, I mean, well, maybe it does need to be a little bit. You need to be able to do some math and some statistics and stuff, but and you need to know how things work. But I need to know mostly repair stuff. I need to know how that stuff works. I need to know how people work, which that helps in my degree. It's in psychology. But when you think about all this, $5,000 on the year is how much more I make in my regular employment, 40 hours a week, than I would be making in my regular employment, which I would think if I was still at the prison by now, I probably would have been promoted to sergeant if I was still in the officer role, maybe even lieutenant, with as much turnover as there is there. And I wouldn't have had to have a degree. Oh, and I could have started 7 years earlier. So I could have been making that money for 7 years instead of spending it on a college education. But anyway, I digress. Now, again, I live in uh, rural central Appalachia. Um, but when you think about just doing the numbers on that, it doesn't make sense. Now, granted, I do think that the college education helped me understand the world around me better and helped me understand how things actually work. But I think had I gone online, I wouldn't have gotten that understanding. Um, it's just the truth. And you're getting this from somebody who teaches college online. Now, I mean, I teach the subject, and the subject is great and all that, but most of the stuff I learned in college was from talking to those instructors and getting a feel for how in psychology. I mean, you get a feel for how people work, and when you're in the class and you have those experiences, that's where I thought the information was valuable. So would I pay for an online education in today's age? Absolutely not. I would not. Um, Now, I recently completed my welding certificate just because I could and I wanted to, and I wanted to learn more about welding and wanted to be able to do it. And so I went and got certified in it. It took 7 weeks, 7 Saturdays. That was worth it. That was worth it. But I, you know, taking 6 years of your life to get a master's degree, 8 years to get a doctorate, unless it's in a very specialized field, you shouldn't be doing that. I don't recommend it. You can get the same knowledge from just hanging around with good people and learning from those people. Um, Build your business. I made money in my business. Like I say, I can go on any given Saturday if I want to and go knock out $1,000 in profit if I wanted to do that. It'd be a hard day's work, um, but I can do it. Um, and that's the stuff I learned just out here doing it by myself. YouTube, shop teacher from middle school. I mean, um, that's where the value is. That's where the value is in actually producing something that is a product in your hard skills. You can, and that if you have something that comes up, you need to pay for something. Well, guess what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to work Saturday, Sunday, make that extra money, pay for something. And or you go out and you hit it hard and you buy you some investment properties, and I've done some stuff like that, and uh, then you make money on your money and you're doing pretty good. And but then you have to work. You're buying yourself a job. This whole getting a rental property for, and it's just going to be passive income, and you're going to sit down on the beach and make all this money. That's nonsense. I don't know what kind of jackwagon came up with that, but that's nonsense. If you're actually going to make money in real estate and doing that stuff, you're going to work on your rental units yourself. You're going to self-manage them. They're going to be close to you. And you're not going to buy 100 roofs. You're going to buy 10. Because if you have 100, that's 100 roofs you got to replace. And you can't do that on your own. So your cash flow on those and dealing with all that stuff and all those tenant issues, you might make $100 a unit. It's not worth it. If you have 10 units and you're profiting $500 a unit, $5,000 a month, that's worth it. But you have to do the work. You have to do the management. You have to, when the roof goes bad on it, you got to get up there and figure out where the leak is, fill up the leak, put the roof on, kind of stuff. So if you really want to make money in real estate, and you want to do it for yourself, for your retirement, then what you're going to do is you're going to go out and you're going to have 10 or 20 properties. They're going to be paid for, so you don't have a bunch of risk, and you're going to do all the work for them. And so you've basically bought yourself a part-time job for your retirement that you control and that no one really controls other than you. And so that gives you an out when somebody starts acting crazy to you at work or something and they want to tell you something. Nah, it's all right. It's all right. I'll go deal with my part-time gig I've purchased. I'll deal with that. I won't deal with you and your mouth. Yeah, go on with that. I don't need that. That is where you get to when you start doing that. And then if you have some hard skills on top of that you can do for other people, you go out and you do those hard skills whenever something crazy comes up that you need to pay for. There you go. There's your retirement plan. But guess what? It's work. So, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, going to college at this point and studying social sciences and things like that, I don't see the value. I could be wrong. But both teaching it and participating in it in my life, as I have done, I don't see the value. I don't see you, especially if you're going to strap yourself with some student debt. I had no student debt coming out of college, primarily because I had all A's and I had a lot of scholarships and I worked my butt off and I worked for the colleges when I was at the colleges as well. And I had that rental property. And so I didn't have any debt. And I still am telling you it's probably not worth it. If you had debt on it, on a social science degree, and you're going to go be a social worker and make $35,000 or $40,000 a year, 45 maybe now, I don't know how much it is. Not worth it. It's not worth it. Anyway, y'all have a good evening.